Please, can we put our hands together now as we bring up stage Dr. Kayode Alonge to take us further.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Or let me rather address you as worthy men and women in the house. I think that's the appropriate way to address you. So, Your Excellencies, worthy men and women in the house, good evening to you all. I thought you would celebrate yourself better. So if you don't believe what I'm saying, so why are you here? I mean, I thought you should believe yourself and believe what you're coming to partake of this place. It's been an exciting time here this evening. I understand it's been a very long day. I should have been here much earlier. I had to juggle all the way from Ibadan just to arrive and get to be part of this conference. I've online at some point when I had the opportunity, and I think I listened to the gentleman who spoke about agriculture and the opportunities and all of that. And thanks to Mr. David, who just spoke about AI. Personally, I've been obsessed with, learning about AI and all that it has to offer. So I want to plead with you, please don't take it for granted. And so let me appreciate the organizers, my dear brother Wale Adewale Adeosun. And the co-hosts, I know there are other persons who made this possible. Also want to thank you for, putting this together. It's not easy at this particular time for anybody to think of what to do. And rather than using your money to pay house rent or to buy food stuff or to just enjoy with your family, you want to put the money and then put, a program of this nature together so that people can come and learn and benefit. Even with the bias that, look, we're not too much of a society that value knowledge. True or false? I know you're an exception, and that's why you are here. Trust me, if this meeting were to be a meeting where people are asked to come and collect one mudu of rice, this place will not contain all of us. True or false? Yeah. And that's why, as a society, as a community, as a nation, we have remained the way we have over the years, because anything that seeks to liberate our mind, anybody who seeks to invest in liberating us from the shackle of ignorance, we tend to look at them as if they don't know what to do with their money. And so rather than showing gratitude and then making ourselves available to be empowered, we tend to trivialize their sacrifice and then think, I can't come and waste my time. How can I sit down a whole day? What you are assessing this afternoon is what people pay several hundreds of thousands to access elsewhere in other climes where people truly value knowledge. Because when you have people who come to speak out of their experience of over 2 decades, it is not a child's play. It's not something you can just tap, your fingers and then just collect like that. It's not easy. So for anybody who uses this network, who uses his, vast, relational, competence to draw people, to speak at a meeting such as this, we should just value, appreciate them, and support them in every way we can. So one more time, let me put your hands together and celebrate Mr. Adeosun Adewale and every organizer of this event. Please help me truly honor them. They've done amazingly well. Thank you so much. I have limited time, and so I'll try as much as possible to speak on the theme and, of course, the topic that is before me. So, what we're talking about is not a strange concept. All of us have heard the word wealth, wealth creation, wealth, generational wealth, and all of that. And if I ask you, specifically now, to tell me 1, 2, 3 persons that you know about who is maybe a beneficiary of generational wealth in Nigeria, I am sure you probably will be able to mention one or two, maybe not so many, perhaps for lack of data. And if I also ask you to, tell me about some other individuals in other climes, maybe Asia, America, Europe, for some of you who really read, you would be able to point to maybe thousands of people, businesses that are passed down, they pass them down for one generation to the other. And so that's what the concept is talking about. So the question is this: why is it that in this part of the world, we have very few businesses and by extension, wealth that we can describe as generational wealth? Now we're talking about businesses or wealth that were created by maybe great-great-grandparents, great-grandparents, grandparents, and now it's with the parents, and the parents are also doing all they can to make sure they pass it down to their own children. So why is it that we don't have too many of that in this part of the world? I think it was just sometimes during this week, somebody shared something on social media, and I caught my attention. And the person shared about a business that was once owned by an Edo businessman. I'm not going to mention the name. And that business is an airline business. So for some of you, maybe by now, you can put your 1 + 1 together. And then the person showed us where that aircraft is seated, right on the tarmac. How that aircraft or that airline business was once a very buoyant, vibrant business. We also had some other persons who tried that in the northern part of Nigeria. Some very, names. I don't want to mention names so that somebody will not go and drag me online and said, I'm defaming their family name. No, we have to be careful now, right? You know about the woman and the bread, right? So we need to learn from those that are falling, right? In my place, they say, it's a horse that is in front, that the one coming behind, learn from as example. Is that okay? So let's just pick the lessons from the story, even if I don't go in detail. So, it should get each and every one of us worried. Why is it that these businesses, they were once vibrant? Why is it that after the primary owner, the first owner, the business can no longer continue? Now, in my quest to really find out what is responsible, I, noted with interest that many of those businesses, while they were being set up, it is likely that the owner themselves never had a dream that is transgenerational. Now, because don't forget, for every business idea, there is once a dream about it, true or false. So, if your dream cannot outlive you, whatever that dream bet will also not outlive you, most likely. So, the point is this: we dream too small in this part of the world. And the way we go about the things we do, it shows very clearly that we often dream so small. Our dreams aren't bold enough. And because of that, we build small things that lacks the capacity to scale and live beyond us. And I believe that's what this conference, seek, to address. First and foremost, how many of us here are in business already? Maybe you've already started something, or you are about to start something. So in your mind, you're a business person, right? Okay. How many of us are in employment? You're working currently in employment, maybe 9 to 6 or 9 to whatever time, and then you are earning salary. How many of us? Okay, fantastic. Now, to some persons who are in employment, the society, if care is not taken, will make you feel you are wasting your time. I don't know if you have ever had such conversation with people, right? where they make you look so small and sometimes make you look so stupid, permit, the use of that language. It happened to me years back. I got into Abuja at a point where new generation banks were just coming up in the early 2000s, I think specifically in year 2002. So I came into the city to serve. And that time I remember specifically that the craze that time is that everybody wanted to rush to serve in the Intercontinental Bank of this world, the Oshoni Bank, I've forgotten so many other beautiful names around that time. And it was just what everybody wanted to do. The telecom of this world, the Zain, that later changed to Airtel or something, from V-Mobile, Econet to V-Mobile and all of that. A whole lot of other smaller telecom companies. So the point I'm making is this. New business were just booming at that time. So the normal thing people wanted to do was to get into any of those prime, jobs so that they can earn decently. And that was fantastic, honestly speaking. I remember attempting a few times, to get into one of such jobs. And I think I went as far as Lagos to write a test with, what's the name of this? Philip Consulting that time. And I traveled in the night. And I remember during that trip, I took ill. I think malaria just got a better hold of me. And I got to Lagos. I was very sick. I got to the interview, location, and then I saw myself very weak and fragile. I couldn't do anything. It was so bad an experience. And I left that place. I was so, down. I was down within myself. I thought about the risk I took all the way from Abuja to be at that interview, yet I couldn't, make the best out of that interview because I got sick. And so when I came back, I told myself, I said, there has to be something better than this. And that was how the entrepreneurial spirit in me, began to find expression. I was doing something small, but I felt since everybody was going in this direction, I think I should also pick a job. Maybe I'll be able to raise, big money, and then I'll now be able to use it to drive, the business better and all of that. So I wanted to belong. It was a trend that time. And so when I came back, I took a very bold decision, and I said to myself, I think I need to spend more time building what I'm building and, trying this thing and all of that. So thereafter, opportunities and, decisions were being taken on my behalf. People would send me link and all of that. And I was no longer interested in any of those places. At a point, some of my friends thought I'd lost my mind. They thought, guy, you must be kidding. Why wouldn't you take up something? What do you have? Do you know what it means to start a business? How are you going to survive? How are you going to take care of it? And trust me, I damned the consequence. I was called names. Some persons thought I was lazy. I didn't want to take risk and all of that, not knowing that I was actually taking a bigger risk. Fast forward, many of these my friends, after about 5, 7, I think about 10 years thereabout, many of them, they had reason to leave those jobs behind because the jobs were no longer satisfying, their yearnings. They thought there was something better. And guess what? Yours sincerely became a consultant to them. You can clap. I became a consultant. I helped them to set up those businesses because I've been about 10 years ahead of them. And what I've learned on the street in the space of 10 years was nothing compared to whatever it is that they've learned from their 9-to-5 job. There's always a difference between it. And so today I'm grateful that I took that journey. And I'm still on that journey. And I want to tell you that, truly speaking, if you want to build wealth, and you want to build wealth that lasts, you will have to, take on this kind of journey at one point or the other. So how is wealth created in the first place? Let's ask ourselves. In other parts of the world, right, where people are lucky to have parents, maybe grandparents, who pass down businesses, it's easy for them to just, start their life, right? So the odds against them are very minimal. Why? Because structures are in place, the business is running, there's a brand name, a household name, and all of that. And if you go Europe, America, you find those businesses all over the places. I remember visiting my brother somewhere in Europe some years back. And so the wife, the in-law family, they run a business, this meat processing business. And so I asked them about it. They told me, this business was passed down from their great-grandparents. Now, that was like a third generation business as at that time. And they were doing all of that, processed meat, and then they would take from one community to the next community, and they were servicing all the adjoining communities around them. Now, in Nigeria, it's hard to find such businesses. It's hard. Why? Because most times, people, even parents, this starts from parents most times, they fail, to involve, children and inculcate the discipline and the passion that is required to take up businesses after them. And so, when you don't have a business that thrives enough to outlive you, so how are you going to have what is called generational wealth created and passed down? Maybe your own parents, they borrowed money to even send you to school, and they were not lucky to even pay off the money to pay the debt before, they passed. You can imagine that kind. Maybe the only asset, I would call it asset, is the education, that they have given you, which in itself is also a noble one. But how I wish that we have parents who are able to, intentionally build something that they can pass down and watch it thrive under them in the hands of their children. I think that's where a lot of our parents have missed it. And the reason why we are talking about this today is that so that we will also not make the same kind of mistakes that our parents made. A lot of parents are afraid. What if I give this boy, I give this girl, the opportunity to come and do this? I hope it's not going to mess it up. I hope she's not going to mess it up. It's a very, valid fear. Everybody exercises that fear, but there are ways to address such fears. And that's where, systems, process, and structure, that's where they come into play. And that's why we don't have much of that in this part of the world. Even though right now things are getting better because the awareness is increasing and a lot of people are now realizing that, hey, we can do what we are doing better. And so for you, who are seated here this evening, I want to believe that whatever you are doing, you can now do it with more intentionality to say, hey, this thing I'm doing, I believe so much that I can do it so well that I can also pass it down to someone that is coming behind me. And then you now become very intentional about what you need to put in place to make all of that happen. And so let's go forward. Okay, so when you talk about the wealth creation, like I said, the foundation for it is that you have to assume that many of us have not inherited anything. So the first thing is to earn income, right? If you are not a beneficiary of a generational business, you're not running your father's business or your uncle's business and all of that. So the first is income. So your job you are doing right now provides you the opportunity for income, right? So from that income, you can now decide to begin to set something aside so that you don't hit everything that is coming to you. And I'm going to share my story with you. When I had the opportunity to serve in this city as far back as year 2002, towards the end of that year 2002, I thought to myself that I would like to have a business. My parents had, business way back when I was much younger. Small business they were running and all of that. They had farms. My dad sold cement. He sold kerosene and the engine oil. He sold nail and a few other things and all of that. My mom sold clothing and all of that, fabric. She would travel far distance, as far as Ibadan, Lagos, to buy all of those things. And I was lucky to be involved in all of those activities. I remember, hawking all kinds of stuff as a young boy in the village. Hawking because I was very excited doing it, not because I was forced to do it. I just loved to carry anything and then turn it around and see a result come out of it. That was me. So right at a very early stage, I observed that entrepreneurial trait in me. And I remember I was a photographer in my school, something that almost got me in trouble. Wish that teacher is alive today to see what that spirit he wanted to kill that time has become. I'm telling you, I almost got expelled from the school because I was competing with my teacher who was a photographer. And I didn't let that spirit die. And so when I got into Abuja and I got into service, I began to see things that, were very fascinating. And I made up my mind. I said, hey, I think I can really do something. And so from my savings from the NYC in those days, I think I had a savings of about 30,000. And so I had someone who was a mentor to me. We're very good friends up to today, who told me that, hey, with this money, you can register a business. And I remember, as far back as that time, 23,000 or thereabouts, I spent it to register my first business. Imagine having 30,000 and then you have to carry 23,000 out of it to go and register a business. That must be a bold vision. Everybody wanted to buy shoes and clothing and all of that, but I wasn't really moved by all of that. Some persons, and then of course, copper just arrived. You go and march everywhere in the village and terrorize people, But that wasn't, my interest. So I carried that money and I registered the business. And from that moment, I began to see myself as a business owner. And, that drove me aggressively. It drove me aggressively. And today that business has become, a huge enterprise that has become a big brand. And I'm grateful. Some persons were instrumental for bringing that to fruition. So don't forget, the point I'm making is this. What you are doing right now, you are earning income. You can set aside a portion of that income, right, to start something that will outlive you. I want you to take note of that. So income, that's the foundation, the beginning of your wealth creation journey. So whether it's a business you want to start thereafter, or you want to go into investment, whatever it is that you need to do to make sure that you can create more income through investment or through business. If you set up a business and you are involved in the day-to-day running of the business, then you start earning more money. If you don't have the opportunity to do that, you put it in investment, whether it's a stock, it's real estate, bond, whatever it is, or you gather money together with your friends. You people go to Benue, you go and buy yam and bring to Abuja, you sell, and then you share. So many opportunities out there. Your money, one way or the other. And as your money is working for you, what are you doing? You are earning more income, right? So as you earn more income, you plow it back, a portion of it back into what you are doing. And then the money will start, growing. What started with a 30,000 savings in 2002, a as we speak today. 30,000 savings from NYS. How did it happen? By putting here, growing it, putting here, growing it, putting here, and on and on and on and on like that. And that's the same way it is with global business. I'm sure majority of you know the story of Aliko Dangote, how that he had an uncle and then they were into trading of commodities and all of that. They would buy stuffs, locally. At some point they will import and then they were selling and all of that. And how that at a very early, stage, he got an opportunity to get into manufacturing. And then he took that opportunity, he borrowed money and put it into all of that. And today is the African richest man in dollar. You are aware that most recently he took a bold step to go into a refinery business, something that a whole Nigeria, the giant of Africa, has failed to actualize. He went into it, plunged himself, even when all the forces came against him. He stood his ground and he said, if I perish, I perish. At least I was in a meeting where this man was speaking to the powers that be. A vice president was in that meeting because he was being frustrated left, right, and center. And I saw him spoke in the manner, of a man who was not afraid of dying. I remember how he said to the powers that be at that meeting that, why is it that everybody is after him and they said he's, operating monopoly? And he said, did I stop anybody from doing what they are supposed to do? And he said, you gave me license, you gave several other person license. All of them have refused to put their license to use. I've gone out, I've used my own license. Must I get punished for doing what I'm supposed to do? And he spoke, the hall went dead silence. Minister seated, the vice president was, in attendance at that meeting and all of that. And that was at a point, they were after him and a whole lot of propaganda, left, right, and center, bad quality fuel, this and that, because people just wanted to trade license so that their cronies will continue to import fuel into the country. And of course, all of us will continue to be in a big mess. So the point I'm making is this. Yes, I'm told I have 5 minutes. All right. So the point I'm making is this. You have to be bold. You have to be ready to swim against the tide if you really want to build something that is transgenerational. So when you put money in business, you put money in investments, you get to a point that your income becomes to grow in geometric, trajectory. It means that you just sit down and then money reproduces itself. This time around, you no longer have to be running up and down and see how it's going. But, it's in the hands of some other persons, it's within certain systems where things work very well and they are able to use the money very well just to make sure that you have something coming for you. And so when you move from that stage, maybe in business, manufacturing, agriculture, fintech, whatever it is, if you move past that stage, there is also another level you can move into, which protects your asset and keep it very well for the generations that are coming behind. It's called trust. You can move part of your money, that you have made into the hands of trust. This trust can help you hold this money with instruction of who the beneficiaries will be and how it's going to be applied. We've had a lot of people. So when you hear like, Bill Gates and what do you call them now? The big billionaires in America and Elon Musk and all of them, they put so much of their money in trust. And then some of them, they even endow, institutions. You see them setting up, legacies in institutions. Some of them for research, some for interventions in challenging, part of the world. Africa has benefited massively from that. If you are bought malaria drugs at a subsidized rate, you are bought insecticide treated net at a subsidized rate, you've gotten some vaccines from the hospital at no cost. Some of these persons made all of that happen. They spend from their wealth to help the rest of the world without them feeling that anything is even going out of their weight. And that's where all of us should aspire to be. I mean, they are not thinking about their children becoming poor, not even their relatives becoming poor any longer. They are thinking about, creating memories, sweet memories for the rest of the world. And when we get there, at that point, you look back from anywhere you are, you know that indeed you are being a very, great steward of, God's resources in your hands. So, because of our time, I'd like to stop at this point. Remember, transgenerational wealth for those of us who are starting from a dry ground. No parents, no uncle, you're not inheriting anything. It's very hard for you, but you can make it happen. And with that little income of yours, you can set a very, a significant portion of it. You can deny yourself, you can deprive yourself of so many things and delay gratification. I mean, you don't have to copy what people are doing. You don't have anybody to impress. You don't have anybody to impress. You can eat what you like without being answerable to anybody. You can wear what you like without being answerable to anybody. You know the future you want to build, and you know why you are doing what you are doing. You know the dream. You're not just living for yourself just to eat what you have and die. That's a mindset that a lot of people carry. They just want to eat and die. Some parents will tell you, hey, I don't care about any children. It's my money. I want to finish my money and die. Did the children, did they help me to do the work? I've had that over and over. And that's why Africa, Nigeria, it's going to be very difficult for people to build transgenerational wealth. It's going to be extremely difficult, but you can make a difference and you can be the change. Thank you so much. God bless you.